Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Things We Know 100th episode. Woo! I feel like I want that,
Woo!
like, wah, wah, wah.
I
You
know.
hear in
Need some
sports.
celebrations.
Oh, look, we got little celebration fingers. Well, for those of you who are watching on YouTube.
Celebration fingers sounds bad
Well,
for
I
those
mean,
who are
because you did,
listening.
why don't mine do
I did
that?
jazz hands.
I know, but
Yeah.
then you had little horns. You can't
That's
see it, but you had
true.
little, like, celebration horns coming out.
Yes.
All right, so here we are, end of season two.
End
And
of
it happens to be
2024.
end of 2024. Yeah, because this is actually it's actually New Year's Eve. So it's
Oh,
New Year's Eve. So 2024 is over. Season two is complete. And it's our 100th episode. You know me, I love when there's synchronicity like this. It makes me so happy.
I do too.
We could have recorded this a while ago because it's been a while since we recorded, but I wanted to do it. We both agreed to do it
In
closer to the end
December.
of the year so
Yeah.
that we could really reflect on everything because we could have done this like in November and then we would have had a whole different 100th episode, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah. You remember at some point I said we're gonna have to re-record everything.
I know. I know. God, we kind of were like silly wagons. Like we hoped that wasn't going to be true, but
Nope. Nope. And for just to explain in case you're wondering what she just that is a funny funny saying that Lisa has picked up on from me about my oldest when he was little and he had a lisp and he was nervous about something, he would refer to the trains from Thomas the Tank as because they were kind of just mean and cantankerous and a little bit freaky with their faces in their
yeah,
animation, and he'd try to make them like not scary by going Philly wagons. It's kind of like how kids are with clowns, like Philly clowns.
totally.
Now
Totally.
Lisa and I
Kind of
say it all
how
the time when we're like Philly
I
wagons.
mean, that's 2025 is for me right now is silly
Philly
wagons.
wagons. Yep, yep. Yeah, bring it
But
on.
today we're here to reflect on 2024 and season two. So we thought we'd start kind of going back to the beginning and the origin story of the things we know. And then kind of talk about what we've learned, some of our listener feedback, the things that are exciting coming in season three. And then we'll end with our favorite songs of this year. So
Mm.
what do you remember about our origin story?
Well, sometimes you and I have very like we have slightly different memories of like which event these happened at, but because you and I coach the same body of people, even though we coach some very different people, like that we didn't overlap with. We ended up coaching a lot of people who worked with both of us
Yep.
when we were working at the same company. But because of that, we were at the same event and we were paired together pretty naturally, and it went really well. And so they kept using us, which was great because we had a lot of
Yep.
fun together. But in that time when we would be prepping together and also just sharing notes over some of the same people we were working with, and the fact that we, even though we do slightly different types of coaching, we have we're similar enough that we were attracting people that were like us,
Yep.
in these like fabulous middling years, and not everyone was feeling fabulous about it, and some were so isolated in ways that we hadn't yet felt, or ways that we thought we'd overcome and left behind us,
Yeah.
but we were relating with such compassion and
Mm.
just a lot of uh I think passion about what we were experiencing. So it was like, are you feeling this? Are you feeling like all these women who need so much more? They need more than just a weekend together. Um they need connection. They need, not to just come together for themselves professionally, but personally. They need like a reawakening to themselves, or
Mm.
and there was like two different types that I was kind of talking to you about, and you were agreeing, and we were sort of fleshing out this vision together. There's the women who know this can be the best time in their lives. And at the time we were thinking 40s, 50s and beyond, right?
Yep. Yep.
That's what we were thinking. And then the ones that are feeling like, oh, it's just the beginning of the end, right?
Yeah.
It's the slow decline. And we were like feeling desperate about that. Like, oh my gosh, these women need, like, when they come together and they actually feel this connection and they hear us speak, or are discovering something, they're finally lit up in ways they've never been before or haven't been in a long time. So that was when we were like, we need a retreat. And you and I were having so much fun. And we were like, we'll call it, and there are drinks here. And it'll just be like a super fun drinky retreat, but like also not, like it would be like this really great, empowering experience where they could have fun again for the first time in a long time. So it really started with a lot of joking,
Yes.
but desire too.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. When we had the first conversation at an event, it was because we were looking at all these women who, some of them were traveling by themselves for the first time. Many of them had partners. Now, again, we were in a space where these were student coaches and they were creating their business, but they were running up against family members, partners, friends who didn't understand what they were doing. And so they were in this room full of like minded people and they were lit up and re-energized. Um, Healing for sure. We were watching this happen in real time, which was really cool. But you're right. Our first inclination, then for like 6 months, we just kind of came up with swag and laughs and memes and so forth, and didn't really pursue it. But then by the next event where we were together, we kind of solidified this is what we need to do. We want to create retreats for women who
Mm-hmm.
who really accelerate their growth, their healing, their connection to when they're with other amazing women wanting to do the same thing, even if they don't have all the
Mm-hmm.
same goals. And so
Right.
our vision really had nothing to do with the things we know. It was these retreats. And then
Right.
we got kind of sidetracked by the pod, which has been the best
Right.
sidetrack ever.
Right. And it was a great inspiration and idea, and it came first,
Yeah,
and it needed to. It all worked
it
out the way it
did.
needed to, because um we both have a lot of experience with events. I've definitely done, destination retreats, and I think coming out of, COVID too, we needed some time to really figure out what was going to be the easiest logistically for people. We knew we didn't want
Right.
to do a retreat online.
No.
That sure as hell we did not want to do that.
Mm-mm.
So this was great because it gave us time to like start these conversations with people through our podcast. It was great.
Well, and I think too through the podcast and hearing back from listeners, we also got a little clearer on what anybody that would come to the retreat might be looking for, you know.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Right? So that was really
Totally.
helpful because, again, to your point, our first idea was, and there are drinks here. We had what I just remember our different sessions. We had meditation and mimosas,
Yeah.
belief work and Bloody Marys. Like we
Yeah.
were pretty, which TBD may still
Yes.
happen, but
I
that
mean,
was
it's such
really
a reflection of yours and my connection professionally and personally, just making each other laugh so much through a
yeah,
time that was so isolating and it was so
yes,
difficult. And, there was so many things going on in the world with our company, with our families, and,
yeah.
and so all we cracked each other up so much that it just lent itself to thinking like we gotta bring this joy to other people.
Like that, I think I sent you that little meme that was like, we should start a podcast so everybody can see how funny we are.
I know. Yes. And we were like feeling pretty good because we were managing to, travel and work and do all this
Yep.
stuff. So we definitely had a lot of inspiration we wanted to share. And that's always funny. And we've talked about this a few times because I
So we also had a
really,
lot of bravado.
uh-huh. And I really felt like, let's do this. Like, we're going to figure this out in real time along with people, but show them like with a lot of laughter and a lot of, like self-awareness and connection with other people. You can make this the best chapter of your life. And I still stand by that. I
A
just think
100%.
it became a lot less funny when you and I in real time were each going through some hardship that,
Yeah.
kept coming. I mean, for me
Yeah.
as recently as September. And, um, and yet here we are.
Yeah.
And maybe slightly less laughs, although we laugh all the time, but so many important things that like just, come to the heart of who both of us are in different ways. have become the topics that we really needed to cover and share. And through feedback, we keep finding that people are, you know, really grateful that we're having these conversations. And we're not the only ones having them, but for some reason they like having them with us.
Yeah. I just think it's funny when I say bravado, I feel like we had this. Thank God we had that, right? Because in my mind, that bravado was the thing that propelled us to do all of this and to just say, okay, we're going to figure this out as we go along. Again, we hired a company at the beginning. I want to shout out Cashflow Podcasting. They really helped set us up for success right out of the gate, and then we took the reins. And we'll talk about how some things are changing in the new season. But and so grateful for that. But I'm just, of course, we'll never know. But there's just something to me around the fact that we were so confident that we got this. And had we not been that confident, whether it was not completely true or not, it was true at the time. It just turned out that things were menopause hit us differently than we expected. We weren't through it like we thought we were.
Yeah.
And
And life
life
got lifey.
life gets lifey, absolutely, and it's a roller coaster, no question. But had we not had all that bravado and confidence, I wonder if we would have done this. So I'm really grateful that we were sort of naive that at the time, right?
Yeah.
That naivete to me propelled us forward, and then we grounded in, and we've continued to do that, and will continue to do that as we move forward as to what is truly hitting us and important. Is that
I want to shout out an intuitive person who you just spoke to recently who said, like, I don't think you've ever questioned, like, you, yes, yes, yes. If you know me and you're listening, I have great ideas. Lisa makes things happen. I mean, you're a manifester, but also the confidence, you had it for both of us. I remember being like, oh, okay, sure. And I've definitely, you and I both with other people have said before, oh, we should do a podcast of these conversations, or you should do a podcast about this. And I had thought about one a long, long time ago called Raising White Men, because of, and who knew so many years later it would be more relevant than ever, but,
yeah,
kind of wanted a tongue-in-cheek but serious and important conversation around, patriarchy and how to raise good guys,
yep,
so like ideas, but never really took it seriously. And then this just sparked yeah, we could and we should. And I think when it comes to getting in front of people, you and I both, what we noticed about being on stage or speaking or presenting online, when those things became necessary during the COVID, you and I both shared, while there are some things that make us nervous, that doesn't. So
true,
I
true.
never didn't think we could do this. It's just that you made it happen. And that's a big difference. So
Well, okay,
thanks.
but you're welcome. And yeah, okay, I hear you. I don't disagree, but also what I love about our partnership is that you never once, I shouldn't say that. When you feel like it's not in alignment for you, you tell me and we either work through it or we scrap it. We've done a few of that, which I love.
Mm.
But you are very open and willing to go there. You also don't have, you may not identify as confident as I am, but you definitely are always open to saying yes. And thank God. But again, we were so, I'm going to say lucky because we didn't make us be on stage together. So in this instance, it is
Mhm.
luck. We were so lucky to be paired together and to already know each other's vibe, and we were already getting feedback from people like, oh, you and Kari are so good together. But the other thing I think that really helped us, at least in my mind, is I personally, I'm not going to speak for you, had no attachment to the outcome. We often have joked like we're talking about this stuff anyways, so let's just record it.
It's true.
And I really did go into this like, I mean, if people listen, great, and if they don't, okay. Like I'm not gonna be, my feelings aren't gonna be hurt. People often come to me, and I've had this conversation a lot recently. Like, I'm so sorry I haven't listened to your pod yet. I'm like, you'll listen when you listen, you know. And I think just letting them off the hook then makes them go listen, which is interesting. But I never was attached to whether people were going to listen or not. And so I know you and I've had this conversation. I'm constantly amazed when I find out somebody that I don't physically know is listening.
Yeah, I remember being like, yeah, we're just open to what this could be,
Yeah,
and I think letting it unfold, I'm grateful for that we didn't have a huge agenda, and
yeah,
you've definitely, guided us through a lot of the marketing stuff really beautifully. And I'm really more comfortable focusing on content, but
yeah. But you're great at it.
it, it's it's just this really cool thing where we'll both come at each other with slightly different idea of outcome, but then we have the exact same nut of an idea. It's so cool.
Totally.
And like or we'll see something and go, oh my God, I was gonna say that. I was gonna show you that. We should, or we should ask her, or like this person wants to be in the pod. I was thinking of her too. So
Yeah,
it's great. It's a great synergy around our collective things we care about, but we're
yeah.
also, we're super different. And so it's great. It brings a great flavor to it. It has been so fun. I cannot believe it's been this many episodes. It
I
feels
know. And I was telling
like it's
somebody
gone
before
so
we got on
fast.
here that I was about to record our 100th episode, that we were about to record it. And they were like, 100 episodes? Like, how is that possible? I'm like, I don't know, because it feels like we started yesterday. I mean, I do. I get confused as to when we started because it just feels like we've been doing this forever. But again, that's because we've been having these conversations forever. Um, so
Yeah, it's fun. It's
it's,
fun.
oh my God, it is a blast. It's going to continue to be a blast. What do you feel like you've learned moving through this?
Mm. Um, well, I mean, I'll go from like there's a range of things. Like you know, I I've learned to like just really laugh at my old view of things. Like, we were talking recently. I can't remember. I think it was this year, like learning something new. And I was like, I haven't learned anything new. I feel like I've been in this safe place. Like, and you saw me the other day go, I don't know where I've been courageous.
I know
You're just
you
like,
and I
what?
were on a call and you said, I don't know where I've been courageous. And I wanted to leap through the Zoom into your living room and literally shake you.
I was in my bedroom, but yeah. But the thing is, like, I saw you go like this and it cracked me up, but I think with your head back. But honestly, it's not like I'm trying to be like, oh, it
No,
is not a demure thing. It
it
really is.
isn't.
Sometimes I don't like, I really see a year like this past year as me kind of being in this like sort of safe, peaceful, rebuilding inward place. And so I don't see that as courageous. I see it as a little bit more, like I'm not stretching enough. I'm not learning enough. And then I think, oh my gosh, technically I keep learning so much. And we'll get to later what your son's teaching us, but and my kids, like
Oh yeah.
I'm learning so much technologically about this process. I'm learning how to write for a production instead of like I was a grant writer. I'm a good writer in other ways, but like how to write differently, how to communicate differently. It this whole process has really taught me so much as a coach,
Yeah.
and also
Mm,
as a mom. And so it's interesting, like our conversations and the way we work together. But then there's also like, I've also learned a lot about my own vanity, and also like there it is. It's important to promote, and we're having fun learning the reels and realizing when I listen to myself or look at myself on camera, I'm like, ugh, but like not enough to care. So it's like I don't really care enough to do anything differently about it. I don't want to take it down. It's just kind of getting my attention where, oh, you could try a little harder at this, or if it matters to you, maybe, don't have any script notes so that your language flows freely. So I'm learning things like that that are really fun and different for me, that are probably ultimately going to make me a better speaker,
yeah,
so
no, it's a great
so
point.
those kind of things, like technologically learning a lot about just where I'm at. And yes, I am a big yes person. I have become that.
I
I
love it.
I see a lot in people in my life, and how I am and how I used to want to manage um, and kind of direct the way I wanted things to go. And I have done so much growth work around being more open to things and letting things happen as they do. And I am such a happier person for it. I mean, an example, like outside of podcasts would be, plan something for the whole family. And, Peter was home writing a 30-page paper. He couldn't come to part of it. It was like, okay. Like I told myself the night before, if he doesn't come, he doesn't come, and he'll join us for dinner. And I was absolutely happy with the idea that what if I just go alone? I'll go alone and see Wicked, whatever.
Mm.
I didn't, but I definitely didn't even have a moment where that bummed me out. I was, said, good luck. Same with this. I might have an idea of how an interview is going to go, or how I want, this to look, and it might go totally differently, and it ends up being great. And so I think that that's probably the biggest learning, is the more I'm open to this and unattached to how it turns out, the better it is. And that's a great learning.
Yeah. Love
What
every
about you?
well, I love every single thing you just said. As usual, you are an amazing writer. I am so grateful that you and I have this synergy around what I like to do, you let me do, and what you like to do, I let you do, and not let. I mean, I want you to do the content. You are so good at it, and I think you feel the same way about the promotion of it. Um, what's fascinating to me, and I think this is one of the reasons people like, I mean, I get so much feedback about what you say in these pods. And I think you might have just hit on why, because as how do I want to say this? Like, I can't believe you can't see yourself the way I see you. And I think that I really, and also I want to add, because we can't hardly get through a pod without talking about human design. Like, as a projector, that's fascinating to me. So again, it just shows, as a projector, you can see everybody else's sort of
Mm-hmm.
truth, but you can't see your own. And so I can't believe you can't see yourself the way I see you. But that's what makes you so genuine and so real, is because you have no, oh, what's the word? It's not gravitas. Gravitas isn't the word. You have no, um, fuck. The word's not coming to me. It's just, there's no fakeness there. Like, it's so, you're so genuine. And so the fact that you would look at a reel and say anything about how you look, good God, you're fucking gorgeous. Like, why would you even think that? But so it's brilliant. And so I guess I've learned that about you, right? Because I don't do that. And that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean I think I'm gorgeous. I'm just saying, like, I don't have those aren't the things that I look at, right? Um,
To be fair, it's more about how I'm moving a lot, or
I know you say that all the
things
time. You're
like
like, you
that, like
never move. I'm like, I move
like
all the
weird
time.
mannerisms I have. But
Oh,
yeah,
weird
yeah, yeah.
mannerisms.
Yes. But
Oh
that's
my God.
also, I turn my
So
camera
good.
off so I can focus, because I almost always do that when I'm coaching. And so it is funny to go back and watch them and go
Oh,
and
that's
be distracted.
interesting.
So it's things like that. Like, I didn't know I did that. Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm looking at both of us. So, I mean, I'm mostly looking at you, but yeah, I guess it doesn't surprise me as much. What have I learned? I've learned that people are listening, and that we're affecting lives. And again, going back to not being attached to the outcome, I kind of did just think it'd be our friends listening, not that our friends wouldn't get something out of it, but even we've gotten feedback, or comments, I guess I should say. One of the cool things about Spotify, if you listen to us on Spotify, is you can comment on the episodes, and we've gotten some feedback from one particular person who I don't think either one of us know, and I don't know who it is. Some nice, some not so nice. And I'm just like, wow, not only are you listening, but you're willing to, like, comment and
Yeah.
interact with us, and I love that. I'm for it. I'm not, neither you or I feel like you have to blow smoke up our ass. Like, tell us
No,
the way
we
you're
want,
feeling.
we're never going to get better if you don't tell us, where we might be missing the mark. Well, of course, we, these are the things we know, or think we know.
I mean, it is the things we know, but we're open to learning other perspectives,
Yes, yes, yes. No,
um
I agree. I mean, I've been so humbled by some of
a
that
million
feedback. I
percent.
mean, people that you and I didn't even know were listening have reached out and said that made such a difference for me to hear that. That blew things wide open for me. I went back and listened to it again. And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's been nonstop this year.
Yeah.
And from the
Yeah.
most unlikely places, and younger than we thought. Even in the first season, we found that out. And so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to mention that. I mean, I put this up after we had our Wrapped through Spotify, but our biggest growth was in 18 to 27 year olds or something. And I thought that's really fascinating.
That
But
is.
again, to your point, we had this vision that this pod and or our retreats were going to be for women of a certain age, as we were calling them at the time, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And lo and behold, younger women are listening too. And of course, why not? What we're talking about, yes, sometimes we dig into things that are very specific to our age group, but a lot of what we're talking about is goes across the age spectrum. And so I'm so that talking about humble, that's the thing that I just really, not only am I so happy with or so humbled by, but I'm actually really happy that we're affecting younger women as well, because I think it is really important for younger women, especially in right now, um, to understand what their power is. Like, if I could have half the confidence I have now when I was in my early 20s, holy shit, what could I have done? And there's no
Mm.
woulda, coulda, shoulda. Obviously, I don't live that in that world, but I hope that some of the things we talk about in impacts how they show up in the world earlier than you and I.
Yeah. Do you mind if for a second, if I riff on that just for a second?
Please.
I feel like we've talked about it here, but even if we have, I think it's okay to repeat that. It's interesting when you say that, because I always think of myself, and I make this blanket statement sometimes, which is false. Most often is this idea about confidence high when you're in your 20s and awareness and knowledge low. And as your awareness and knowledge increases, confidence comes down. And ideally,
Hmm.
like they both stay at a good level. But I think about myself as confident without a lot behind it. In my 20s, I was speaking in front of hundreds of people and just thought I was badass at it. And I wasn't not smart, but I didn't know what I know. I didn't know what 20-year-olds know now. I didn't
True.
have the awareness of things in the world and their impact and like the worry. I definitely had things I cared about. I didn't have my head under a rock, but I for sure identify as one of those Gen Xers who took a lot for granted. And that, like, even if things were hard, I kind of always believed we could figure it out and make something happen. And sure, that comes from privilege for sure. But I definitely see 20-year-olds the way you're describing them now. And I don't know if it's as much, I think they have more awareness maybe. And,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I think you're right. I mean, yes. The in my mind, millennials, Gen Z, what will be Gen Alpha. I mean, Gen Alpha exists, but they're young. Um, God is blessed to them. Like, I
yeah.
love what they know. I can imagine it's intense and depressing on some days for them. Um, but and I love that you were out there kicking ass and taking names in your 20s. I don't know that I was. It has been reflected to me that people always thought I was confident. I don't know how I put that across, because I didn't feel confident when I was younger.
Mm.
Um, and so again, I think learning that we are being listened to by millennials and Gen Z, and perhaps occasionally a mom passes it on to Gen Alpha, like that just makes my heart swell, makes me so happy.
Well, I mean, I have just a million accolades for you in terms of where we're at and the exposure, but also the way we sound, the way it all is out in the world, the exposure we're getting, that gets us invited to other pods. It's really
Mm.
such a testament to you, and you're such a natural at all this. It's fun to be along for the ride.
I give myself credit for we always joke about past Lisa and Carrie. I mean, past
Mhm.
Lisa, doing the things I know for five. I mean, that'll
Mhm.
celebrate 5 years in January that I've been doing the
Wow.
things I know on Facebook. Even and I know you heard this story when we were at the retreat in Chicago, but my friend Leah, who is a listener and also came to the retreat, always laughs because she remembers when I was what was titled a receptionist at Weight Watchers, and I was adamant that I didn't want to be a leader. I didn't want to be standing in front of the group. Why would I do that? Like, I was so nervous about that. So I credit my experience back there and all of that to be able to do this. Um, so thank you. I receive, but look, I could not do this without you. And in fact, I wanted to say this earlier, but I'll say it now. I was on a pod. You are going to be on this pod as well in the future,
Mm.
and it's called Outliers Edge. I can't wait for it to come out. Niyama is amazing, an amazing interviewer. On that pod, I was with six other people, or maybe there were six of us total. So I was with five other people, and there was one other pair that were podcasts together. They were co-hosts, and then me, and then a bunch of people that did it singularly. And at some point, I had an opportunity to reflect that I was so glad I had a co-host. And the ones that were singular podcast hosts, they were like, note to self, need a co-host, because I was like, really, I wouldn't do this if it wasn't for you. I would never have done this. I also had many people say, especially because of the things I know, you should do
Hmm.
a podcast. I was not interested. I would not have done this without you. And I know this now, it's starting to sound like you and me
Mm.
just propping each other up, but it's true. This doesn't, I mean,
That's
it's true.
okay.
It is, that's what celebration's for.
We could be like smartless and just make fun of each other, but
Oh my God, Smartless.
we could
We
do that too.
rewatched that. We could do that too. Except we don't do that. We don't make fun of each other. Like, we just don't. We make fun of ourselves.
I
That's a
mean, I think
pod
we
coming up.
crack each other up when we're doing dorky things. Like, I think
Totally.
we're good at mimicking each other. But
We
yeah,
are.
that's true.
So speaking of upcoming topics, I want to say we kind of touched on this earlier, but one of the things we love about our listener feedback is, whether it's to us directly or on social media or on Spotify, is we get really great ideas from you guys. And so
Hmm.
again, if you hear something, I mean, if you listen to the pod on a regular basis, we often go, that's an episode for another time. But if you ever hear something, you being the listener, ever hear something and you think, ooh, I'd like them to expand upon that, please, please, please comment if you're listening on Spotify. Message us through our social media, because we have done a good handful of pods topics based on what somebody has said to us.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
am I love it because all it takes is like one half of a sentence and we run with
Hmm.
it. And that's just how our brains work, either because we can relate to it or because we're like, tell me more.
Yeah.
And then there's just so many places to go. And there's often like, case in point, one thing you have to look forward to there's a lot of women our age who can relate to developing adult ADHD, onset ADHD, either in menopause or, just in this 24/7 news cycle world that we live in that's constantly taking our attention and dividing it. We had someone just really throw that out there. Have you
Yeah.
at a retreat, right? Have you done anything
It
about
was our
women?
lunch with Katie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and when we were in town for the retreat, have you
correct.
done anything about like women with ADHD? And during that weekend, Lisa lined up a guest, and so that's coming, or the guest ideas. So that's just, and it's such an important topic, and it's something we were probably going to get to. We may have kind of thought something near that in the past, or
Except
we've
you and I don't
maybe
have
gone into,
ADHD, so we wouldn't, maybe
right.
that wouldn't have
I
come up
mean,
to us.
I'm pretty sure I'm neurospicy on some level, but
Well, I say I've never been diagnosed, but I have a lot of things that would tell me maybe I am. So,
yeah. If
neurospicy.
it's not ADHD, I don't know what is. So I'm so glad we have that coming, right?
Yeah,
So we have
yeah,
that, or like conversations. The amount of like brilliant little sparks that we text each other that become from another conversation with somebody who's listening to the
yep,
pod that become topics is endless. We can fill a whole year with it. Yeah, and I think people would be amazed and surprised how far ahead we are when we're recording these and thinking of these ideas. And then we get to have the fun of shuffling them around when something really timely comes up and we need to
yeah,
throw that in. So I love
yeah.
that. That's a fun little behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one thing I think we have failed to do, if I may say so, is talk more or center ourselves around the fact that if you enjoy these topics and if you enjoy Carrie and I, that you can actually work with either of us. And in fact, going back to cash flow podcasting, the reason they're called cash flow podcasting, it's like, if you are going to be a podcaster, what is your end what are you looking for from a monetary standpoint? Like, what's your end result that you're looking for, desired outcome? And because that was not our focus at the beginning, we just really haven't presenced that each month or each episode. Obviously, we often refer to the fact that we're coaches, and if you ever read our show notes say that have our calendar links and so forth. But the things we talk about, we are coaching our clients on a regular basis. And so we are going to have some opportunities in season 3, um, for more direct access to us, I guess I would
Mhm.
say, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But for the listeners, if they wanted to work with you, and side note, I just want to presence this. So we've got the new retreat coming, and we'll talk about that in a second, but we've got the new retreat coming in March. And when you pay in full, you get a call with either one of us. That's your bonus for paying in full. And I have had a couple of friends, my my friends, sign up for the retreat, pay in full, and be like, I want to work with Kari. I'm like, sweet.
I
So I
know.
love it. It's not always about like we are very similar and we are a great pair and you can actually work with us together. We've done that with a couple of people. But for clarity purposes, please share what you do when you work with people. Like, who is your ideal client? What do you help them with?
Thank you. It's funny because I just had somebody say that if I come, do I get to get some coaching with Lisa? And I was
Oh,
like, yes. Um, she just loves your style. She loves listening to you. So I would say my ideal client tends to be female, but I have worked with males as you have. It tends to be female, and it tends to be um, somebody who really needs to learn how to center themselves
mm,
and whether they have in the past or whether they think they have in certain ways, like they could be doing really well in their career, they could have everything they want in life, and yet something like they're feeling disconnected from it. So that's generally it. Like they need to actually be back in their body, and we talked about this on a recent episode, right? They may have everything going in their life. They may not. I mean, for some people, like I work with a lot of women who have gone through divorce or significant loss, and they feel like they can't get back to themselves again. So either way, whether like their attention and their spirit feels divided or disconnected, and they desire some sort of wholeness or spark, more than a spark again, right? Like some sort
yeah,
of reignition of that and direction, which sounds very similar to what we do, what we say we do at our retreats, which is true,
totally.
right? And
Yeah.
and you have a version of this as well. So it tends to be people who really would love a coach for something specific or something very important that might be general, which is I want to feel like me again. I want to like have some clarity. I want to feel like I'm actually in the driver's seat of my own life. And we do a lot of reframing and looking at beliefs that are kind of driving the experience they're having, and get them back on track towards the experience they want to be having instead. So that really probably sounds kind of general, but it is really intricate and dynamic work that I never tire of. It's so exciting and fun to be in that space with people who, for the first time, are looking at their life with, God, I never looked at it that way before. And oh my God, this is so great. And like to realize that they have all the ingredients that they need for the life they want is just my favorite thing.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that you said people that women who need to center themselves. Because, oftentimes, and
Mhm.
we kind of joked already, like the idea of centering yourself is a bad thing. And in certain instances, it absolutely is. But when you're talking about your own life, centering yourself is so important. I also love what you just said around like they have all the pieces and you help them start activating those pieces again. Um, Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't think we could run this podcast the way we do. The mission for the podcast couldn't be this if we both didn't do this work individually.
Right.
You know,
I
so
mean,
yes.
yes, very we do very similar things in terms of we want people to be in love with the life they have,
Yeah.
and not just build one that they'll fall in love with, but we can do that too. It really there's my niece just started a blog, Less is Morin, which is so cute. We have the same last name. But really, truly, I love that idea. I was like, that would have been a good idea for a coaching. Like, you know, there's so much out there that wants your attention. And when
Yeah.
you can bring your attention inward to less external stimuli and more internal wisdom, you're going to just love your life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
Kari's
yeah.
calendar link is in the show notes,
Yes.
and for both of us, your first call with us through that calendar link is complimentary. We want to talk to you and find out what you want, what you're looking for. And so I guess I want to say one more thing about what you just said. You said it's so general, but in some ways it is general until we have that first conversation. Once we have that
Mhm.
first conversation with somebody,
Gets
then
really
we realize the
specific.
specificity of what they're right. Like I always
Yep.
say, our coaching is curated very specifically for the person we're talking to. We don't
Totally.
know what we're going to be working with until we talk to you. So if you've
Right.
listened to anything Kari said over the last two seasons and resonated with it, and I know you have, then go to her calendar link, schedule a complimentary call, and see if it makes sense to work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is you and I both, it's everybody's obstacles are different.
Yes.
And once that's identified, I think you'll be amazed at how easy it is to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Totally. Totally.
So what
Um,
about you?
and
Will
then
you share?
yeah. So, when I step back and look at my 20 years of experience, you also have a shit ton of years under your belt. I include my Weight Watcher experience because while I wasn't coaching one on one, I was coaching groups at the time for all intents and purposes. And of course, that was helping them have a healthy relationship with food. I've moved through life coaching and helping you have a life you're fully in love with. Moved into business coaching there for a while, which I also loved, helping women entrepreneurs start their businesses, build their businesses. But even with that, what it came right down to, it still was life coaching because
Mhm.
I can help you build your business. Sure, I can help you with all those pieces. I've done it with the pod, I've done it with my own business. Like I can do that. But if you have limiting beliefs, if you have a lot of chaos in your life and you don't have clarity, it's really hard to make those things happen. And so when I step back and I look very more specifically at the last 7 years of my coaching experience, the women that I love to work with are high achieving, dynamic women who feel like their life has a little bit of chaos. There might be these nuggets in their life that as you say spark that are working for them, but ultimately they do not wake up every morning excited to jump out of bed. And so I'm really working with women to get them out of the chaos of to-do lists and things they're doing for other people and move them into the clarity of what they want in their life so that they can wake up every morning just so fully in love with their life. Doesn't mean it's I guess I should not say every morning. This is me, right? We all coach ourselves ultimately. I learned that a long time ago that we end up coaching the people that we are or
Mhm.
were. Um, are there days that I wake up and I'm like, fuck this shit? Absolutely. And, but most of my life, I'm really happy with. And I'm really
Mhm.
proud of the risks I've taken. Darren and I moved from Dayton to Chicago on a wing and a prayer. We moved from Chicago to LA on a wing and a prayer. And I'm so happy that I had the wherewithal to be like, let's do this and take those risks and believe that it would all work out, not only because it's all going to work out, but because I can make it all work out
Mm.
and not be attached to how that has to look. I would have never in a million years thought when I graduated with a communications degree from Miami University in 1991. I'm I'm
Same here.
so proud of my age. I shouldn't have
Yeah.
even made that joke. That I'd end up on a podcast. A, because podcasts didn't exist, but like this just wasn't this. I never mapped this life out for myself. Darren and I were just talking the other day. For many, many years, he wanted to move to LA, and I was resistant to it. And now I'm so surprised that I was ever resistant to it, not only because I love living in Los Angeles, but so much of my childhood was wrapped up in what I thought California and LA look like. And so as we have these little amazing experiences of whatever, being places where we're like, did you think your 14-year-old self would ever have this experience? Um, I am surprised I ever didn't want to live in LA, but it still was a leap of faith. Not too many Midwesterners move all the way to the West Coast, and
We have a
so,
ton here.
oh, that ton in Portland.
I bet you there's more there than you think, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's what's interesting is so many of my friends are from Dayton or Chicago. I
Yeah.
knew them back
Yeah.
then. I mean, our circle of friends actually are.
I know.
But
I
I
know.
also know many people who are like not going to come visit me in LA. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, oh my God,
True.
LA. And how many times I've had this conversation of like, ooh, what was it like to live in LA? I'm like, it's like any other city.
Oh yeah.
You know what I
People
mean?
always think that Portland's on fire.
Oh,
Yes.
always. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
totally.
I would, okay, can I just add to this? Or did
Sure.
you have more to say? Because I want
Nope,
to,
I'm done.
okay, first of all, you say I was kind of coaching. You were so coaching at Weight Watchers. And I know this because
Mm,
we were meeting up with so many people who you coached who you've become family to them and you made such a
mm.
difference in their life. And you were an indelible impact on these people and some who've come to our retreat who already had the seeds of what you planted years ago in these 20 years. So that was incredible coaching that you did. So that, and also I can also attest that nobody in Chicago wanted you to leave because everyone we met still got a little bit of a grudge against Darren for taking you.
It's true.
Um, and my just amazement at your coaching and your clients who I've met is you really are. I mean, you were saying this about me, but you really seriously have no attachment or ego about any of it. Like you really do
Mm,
fall in love with each of your clients and like
thank you.
really like you said it was the first thing I saw about you when you and I were looking at each other's stuff. You're like, I believe in you until you believe in you. That is Lisa. Like she will be your champion and that's why people renew with you. So it's an incredible experience to be your client, clearly, because people don't quit you.
That's true. Thank you. Yes. That is my superpower. And that was given to me from a client that said, you
Yeah.
have such confidence that when you have confidence in me, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that I can achieve everything I want to achieve. And that is, yeah, so that's huge for me and I love it. So thank you. So also my calendar link is up there if you
Yes.
want to have this conversation. All right. So let's talk about season 3. It's so exciting.
I love three. Three's like one of my favorite number.
Ooh, that's
I'm
Charlotte's favorite
excited.
number is 3, actually. So
Yeah.
I want to first shout out, we talked about how we took everything over, and we did, except for editing this pod. So I do want to shout out Chris Greer. She has been our
Mm-hmm.
editor for the first 2 seasons. Lovely, lovely woman. If you're thinking about starting a pod, let us know, and we will direct you to Chris. She also edits one of our favorite people in the world, Elijah Selby's
Alicia.
pod. Yeah, business is activism. Anybody else? Do we know?
I think Chris also does even more than this. Like she could have done more, she helps people start podcasts and
Yep.
she does a podcast. So yeah, there's great CMG Solutions. That's what I think they're called. CMG
Ideas?
something.
Message
She's
us
great.
and we will get you. She is. She's awesome. She's been so communicative. She's been great. She hasn't done. We don't edit much, as you can
Mm-mm.
probably tell, in a good way. So there hasn't been a ton that she's had to do for us, but she's always been there, and we're so grateful. That being said, we are very excited, or especially me, I'm very excited that starting with season 3, Liam Callahan is going to be our new producer for this pod. And what that
Yay.
means is he came to me and then did a presentation for Carrie as well. And he listens to so many pods and he watches so much YouTube. Like that is his main form of information gathering. And he just looked at what we had created these last few years and said, I think I can take you to the next level. I really think I can do some things that, quite frankly, you and I just don't know how to do
Mm-mm,
and don't want to learn.
mm-mm,
So he has really amazing visions about how he wants our videos to look on YouTube so that they are more engaging. It's been great to just throw up this raw footage for the last 2 years, but he's going to take it and edit it and create it. He wants us to do more shorts that are more timely. So we'll be have more shorts on YouTube. We will be, if you're listening to us on Spotify, you'll be able to watch us on Spotify. That's one of the things he loves the most, is to be able to watch his pods, even if it's just on his phone. I'm really excited and grateful to you for saying yes again. That Liam will be our new producer starting in season 3.
woohoo.
Yay! But we have other fun things.
Extra impressed with him. We haven't gotten fully into it yet, that he's going to figure out how to help me with camera work from afar. That's going to be fascinating.
Yes.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
you too. I mean, you
that
too.
has been, I mean, it's so funny because I found a text thread I had with him not months ago when I was first saying that I couldn't get things on Instagram. Um, and and I said, but look what I've done. And he said, that's the job of Gen Z, is to help their Gen X parents with
It's true.
technology. And I was like, true. And to be fair,
I used to
Liam,
have to help my mom put a CD in a CD player. So is that
yep,
the same?
yep, pretty much. Pretty much. And if you've been watching, again, if you've been following us on social media, which is the Things We Know pod on Instagram and the Things We Know podcast on Facebook, all the reels that have been coming up for the last few months have been Liam's doing. So he's already been helping us, but he's taking a bigger role in season 3. But we have really great guests. We were prepping for that before we got on this. We have some really great guests
Mhm.
and amazing topics coming up in season 3. But some space again for listeners who might have ideas. You want to talk
Absolutely.
about our retreats?
Yes, we have 2 retreats. Well, I'm definitely, we had 2 retreats in 2024, and that's our plan, is to have two. And the one that is, gosh, fast filling up, is
Yeah.
happening in March 28th to 30th in Chandler, Arizona, which is really convenient to the Phoenix airport. And we're really excited about it. It's called the Plot Twist Getaway. Plot twist is a lot about what we talk about, right? Just
Yeah.
this, whether you want a plot twist or life handed you one, there's ways to really, connect and get the support you need and the excitement and the direction from yourself, from your own wisdom and your own desires, with some guidance in a really fun setting. So I invite you to consider that. That is ahead. And also, just the idea of our retreats is for people who, are listeners, who have their busy lives but don't really have a lot of community with women in their lives, or even if they do, maybe their group of women don't talk like this or don't get on
Mm,
these topics. So it's a really safe way to be with other women that are going to be so important to you, and you haven't met them yet, and they're going to love you. So I just invite you to consider that as a gift to yourself in the new year, because it is a great thing coming up in this first quarter, that it really helps set the tone for how you want to spend your year.
yeah. And maybe a retreat isn't quite your speed yet.
Mhm.
We will have a fall retreat. And we're pretty sure we know where it is, but just in case, we're gonna hold off on that. We've already got our big plan for 2026. Also, TBD. Well, no, not TBD for us, but stay tuned. That'll be fun to
And renew
announce
your
that.
passport.
Yes. Side note, need a passport, so you might want to start working on that now. But if jumping into an in-person retreat is not quite yet where you want to be, we are creating, and it will come out very early in the year, a master class, and you will get access to that for free if you sign up on our mailing list. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that as well?
Right. A lot of things that you could string together thematically from our podcast is what we kind of want to bring together, some of the feedback we're hearing and what we're seeing with our own clients. So really, everybody has that spark of discomfort of like that thing that they just wish they kind of had the courage for, the time for, maybe limiting beliefs get in the way, maybe there's just not the confidence to pull it off. So we want to do a master class on how to identify and embrace that discomfort, and really light that flame, and kind of create that bridge that goes into that vision and clarity and that plan that you need. So more to come on that, but it's going to be really juicy, and I guarantee you'll come away with like, I know it. I know at least one thing that's going to make a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, you will definitely walk away with at least one next best step, if not even more than that. And the lovely thing is it will be self-driven. It will be a video that you can watch over and over again. And so as soon as we are ready to release it, we will let you know. And all it will take is you getting on our mailing list, which is again a fabulous resource because Kari writes one and puts it out every week
Every
when
week
MailChimp
when our mail
agrees with us.
services, yes,
Yeah, when it
it,
doesn't
it
mess
comes
with it,
out Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
whatever. But it's great because it expands a little bit on the show notes. If we have links to guests and so forth, it's all right there. So it's a real easy, quick, once a week read for all the things for that week's episode. And so you will be happy to be on our mailing list. We do not overdo it by any stretch of the imagination. So before we get into our last of our favorite songs of the year, again, I want to stress our ask right now is for you to follow us on Instagram at the Things We Know Pod, or on Facebook on the Things We Know podcast for Facebook. Um, and if you listen to us on Spotify, give us stars. If you listen to us on Apple, write us a review. That is really, really helpful. And especially on Apple, we really love the reviews. Those are fun to read. Is there anything else you want to add about this 100th episode, first two seasons?
I just want to say thank you for listening. Even if you only listen sometimes, we so
Totally.
appreciate it. We appreciate the engagement. We appreciate the feedback, and we appreciate knowing that this is landing. So just let us know somehow. Lisa just gave you a bunch of ways to stay in touch with us. We do respond directly to email. We love it. So let us know.
Love it. So one thing that's never caught fire, but we're going to keep doing it. And I actually did have a listener tell me, I really love how you always bring in music at the end of your pods, but we have playlists for both season one and season two, and we'll be starting season three. I will throw them up on our stories. So if you want to go out and grab it and follow it, you can, because each week we have a song. I add it each week, so the playlist grows as the year goes on. So for this episode, I wanted you to tell me what your favorite songs. It doesn't obviously have anything to do with necessarily this episode, but what have been your favorite songs for 2024? And we already talked about it. We probably both have two.
I know. I could have come up with a three-way tie because, as Rapt pointed out, there's a lot of Maggie Rogers this year for me. Love everything she
And you
does,
got to
and her
see her
lyricist. I
live.
did. She's
That's awesome.
amazing, amazing. And it turns out that she was a favorite of my nephew. So if you've been listening, and
Oh,
we lost my nephew this year, and it's so good to know, like, to be listening to a lot of the music he loves is really been in a good soulful place for me. But so there's a tie. Leon Bridges, Peaceful Place. I love that song. Do you want me to share a couple lyrics?
yeah, please.
Um, I'm in a peaceful place. I found something no one can take away. I'm in a peaceful place now. I feel at home anywhere that I go, spirit in my soul. And then it says, woman back home, haven't seen for a while. She makes me laugh. She makes me smile. I'm sure in the context of that song, he's thinking about someone else. But whenever I'm listening to it, I think of myself, right? Just because it's been somewhat of an inward journey this year for a lot of
Mm.
reasons, and in a really internal, soulful place. And that song really resonated for me. But my other song, because I also love SZA so much, as I know
I do
you
too.
do,
I do.
the song I've been listening to a lot, and I got kind of emotional re-listening to it today, and I was like, God, for me, this is about you, in our
Mm.
partnership. And if you recall, when we were getting like, we were working together a lot to launch this 2 years ago, right? And I said something to you about we, and you said you and Brendan, and I went, no, you and me.
That's right. Yep.
Being a we. And then you just sent me something recently. If your husband doesn't think you and your
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 bestie.
like bestie are gonna run off together, is she
Are you
even your
really
friend?
best friends? Yep.
So funny. Um, I was thinking about this, because there's been times like when we don't record for a while and like the world is coming apart at the seams, and you're like, why are we even doing this? Or what is this, any of this for? Does any of this matter? Whatever that
Mm.
is. But we always, then we'll record and it all kind of comes into place. Or if we don't know exactly what we're going to do for something, and then it just all comes into place. So this line from Snooze is, I can't lose when I'm with you. How can I snooze and miss the moment? You just too important. Nobody does it like you do. I can't lose when I'm with you. Just so fun.
Oh,
I
that
love
is
it.
fun.
And
I
I
do love
know, and it's
SZA.
just like in the drop top ride with you, I feel like Scarface. It's so funny. Like this
SZA
just
is so
cracks
funny
me
to
up.
me.
I know
She is
she has
so
very
funny.
funny lyrics, and it just so I was feeling emotional, and then that Scarface line came, and I laughed, and I thought, oh, that's so perfect because I can feel emotional and laugh and just be really grateful. So I
I
mean, SZA is just kind of a background to my year, but also that song made me think of you.
Thank you. I love that. And SZA is going out on tour with Kendrick, and we both love Kendrick. So yay. I know.
That's
Very
going to be
excited.
a
Oh my
dynamite
God,
lineup.
that is going to be amazing. Unfortunately, they're playing at the biggest place on earth here in LA, so I probably won't go see them. But
I don't even
thank
know
you.
if they're coming to Portland.
Oh, I can't.
Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, side note. Well, we'll have that conversation afterwards. Okay. So for me, I decided to go both with my Spotify Wrapped number one, which was, if you know me, no big surprise, Duran Duran, Secret October
of course.
31st. So Duran came out with Secret October a million years ago at their very beginning of their career. My best friend in high school, Shelly. Um, that was her favorite Duran song. It was just called Secret October at the time. And because it really wasn't super available, I didn't know that song very well. I was so lucky in 2023 to see Duran with Shelley in Chicago. That was super fun. All of our 40 years of being friends and our origin story being around Duran, and we had never seen them together. So that was fun. But then they came out with On Dance the Macabre Secret October 31st. They just re-recorded it, and it absolutely is a song I could listen to every day. And according to Wrapped,
Awesome.
that was my favorite song, which I agree. But the song that I was originally going to pick, and this lands for me for us because I ultimately think this is what we're doing, is a piece specifically from We Pray from Coldplay,
Love
and
that
it's the
song.
oh my God, I love it
You're the
so
one who sent
much.
it to me. I had never heard it before you sent it to me.
I saw that I saw Coldplay on Saturday Night Live do this. I find so many of my things I love on Saturday Night Live, so I got to give them props. But then when the single version came out, Little Sims is singing on it, and this is her piece. And this, quite frankly, this is us and what we're
Mm.
both as our individual coaching and what the pod. So I'm going to read all these lyrics. So it says, I pray that love will shelter us from our fears. I pray you trust to let me wipe off your tears, confront all the pain that we felt inside or the cards that we were dealt in life. I pray I speak my truth and keep my sisters alive. So for
Mm.
the ones who parted seas, for the ones who followed dreams, for the ones who knocked down doors and allowed us to pass down keys, I pray that we speak with a tongue that is honest and that we understand how to be modest. I pray when she looks at herself in the mirror, she sees a queen, she sees a
Mm.
goddess. Ugh, those
That is so
fucking
perfect.
words. Oh my God, I love it so much. So
I
much. And
love
if anybody
that.
ever saw me with my headphones on and couldn't tell what I was dancing to, I just love those words so much. So that
Oh,
is my actually my song for 2024 and
that's
for what we
perfect.
see now.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, so on to season three, on to 2025. It's going to be a roller coaster. If you listen to our election podcast, you know where we stand. Um, and I know you believe this. We've talked about it many times. What we are doing now is more important than ever. I think we need to keep ourselves safe. I think we need to keep ourselves resourced. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever that means to you, so that God us forbid, if we have to step up for our friends and family, and people who are Not as privileged as you and I that we are ready and raring to go.
Mm, well said.
Mm,
Buckle up.
yep. And hey, little preview to next week's topic. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone. And as Kari said, thank you so much for everything, for your listenership, for your reflections back to us, for everything. We couldn't do this without you. Even though we had no attachment to the outcome, we are so glad you're here.
We would probably keep doing this, but I don't think I don't
It's
think
nice to know
it would
somebody's
matter.
listening, though.
Yeah, it is. We're gonna keep talking. Thank you for being here with us. We
Yeah.
love it.
Again, always pull up a glass of wine, whatever it might be. Kari and I have our
Cheers.
champagne today. Cheers to 2 seasons under the belt and to season 3, my
And
friend.
to just a new year.
Ugh. Okay,
Mm.
yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Together.
Together. Huzzah. All right,
All
everybody.
right.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next year.
Bye.